Hello and namaste. For our today's session, we have an MIT graduate, an luminary in the field of cybersecurity, and the founder of SAM Analytics Solutions, which is the leading Siemens industrial automation distribution partner in the North Atlantic region of the US. We warmly welcome Dr. Samudra Vijay. We're delighted to have you with us today, sir. On behalf of the NPTI family, I am really thankful to you for joining us today in the studio. So, my first question to you is that, sir, how has the landscape of cybersecurity evolved in the Indian power sector over the years?
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to talk to your audience who's playing a key role in making sure that we are at the forefront of power generation, distribution and transmission technology. So traditionally we have known about cybersecurity being a problem only for the IT sector. So to make it a little better and clear for understanding purpose, let me make sure that everyone understands the differentiation between the IT and the OT. So IT is what we call as information technology, and OT is what we call as operation technology, which essentially talks about the physical infrastructure that we deal with. For example, the factories, the power plants, transmission systems, distribution systems. Some of these operation technology, manufacturing or other pieces of infrastructure we call as critical infrastructure, because nowadays they are essential for us to operate pretty much on a daily basis our lives. For example, if you don't have internet, you will not be able to do lots of things that we take for granted: booking your tickets, going to places, finding Google Maps, etc. Electricity is one of the most critical part of the critical infrastructure that makes. So therefore, the power generation, the transmission and the distribution grids are part of critical infrastructure and part of what we call as OT, operation technology. Now, in the past, OT used to be pretty isolated from IT in the sense that there were not a lot of networks available in these infrastructure places. But now, because we have to collect data from various machineries, either they are operating on a plant floor or power plant, you want to know in real time what is the amount of power being generated. That means you have to somehow get this data across the factory floor or across from your generation and transmission capability to the IT side, so that data can be transmitted and communicated using the standard TCP/IP protocol. What that means is the IT and OT are converging, they are communicating, talking to each other. What it has done is traditionally all the cyber threats that were targeted against our IT infrastructure, now they have access to the OT infrastructure. So that essentially means that people can hack into our IT infrastructure and can easily pivot into the OT infrastructure. And power sector, being one of the critical pieces of infrastructure, is one of the very important pieces that makes our daily lives possible. So we have to make sure that it stays protected.
Okay, sir. In your opinion, sir, how can the contribution of the government, the private sector, and the cybersecurity experts can be considered as helping to address the challenges in the power sector regarding cybersecurity?
So the three entities that you talked about have an important role to play. Most importantly, the private sector is likely to find the zero-day threats before anybody else does, because they are likely to be impacted most. They're generally proactive. Government can play a key role in making sure that that information does not stay in silos but is communicated to all potential parties that are going to be impacted by these things. So coordination between the various entities and communication flow, information communication between these is a very important piece, and that is essential for keeping our infrastructure secured and up to date.
Absolutely, sir. So my next question to you is that, sir, are there any international best practices or modules that can be adopted by the Indian power sector in order to strengthen its cybersecurity posture?
That's a very good question. Absolutely. So we have to first of all categorize our infrastructure in several different categories. Let's call it level 1, level 2, and level 3. Level 1 could be the infrastructure that is important but not that critical. Level 2 could be something that is more sensitive, and level 3 is highly sensitive infrastructure. So depending upon the categorization of the infrastructure, if it is critical or sensitive or ordinary infrastructure, we can adopt the right practices that will be suitable for that from a cost benefit perspective. For example, for very critical installations like nuclear power, we should deploy something called as data diodes or unidirectional. Uh, the idea is that the protocols that are being used in the OT sector are slightly different than what happens in the in the IT network, where we have TCP/IP protocol that enables flow of communication and information possible. Whereas in OT, we are dealing with various different protocols, for example, Modbus protocol, IEC 61850, or DNP3 protocol. Now, when the information flows from factory floor or power generation to the IT sector, sometimes bidirectional information is there by design. For example, using TCP/IP protocol, the information flow is typically bidirectional. In a critical installation like nuclear power or let us say our refineries, we cannot afford somebody to be able to use the same flow of information to be able to hack into our system or attack. So unidirectional information flow using the data diodes or similar firewalls is critical, important for those. The installations that are slightly less critical, which are not part of what is called as critical infrastructure protection, can be protected by certain strategies such as defense in depth and isolation of various segmented critical networks. And that the third level, the category 1 installations that we have, where we should use the best practices of monitoring all the traffic, putting in the firewalls, and doing the IDS and IPS, intrusion detection system and intrusion prevention systems. In addition, the key difference between using these same technology that are popularly used in the IT infrastructure is that we have to be cognizant of the protocols that are used in the OT sector. And that'll have to be specific to the factory floor. For example, Modbus is likely to be a common protocol being used there. BACnet is going to be a common protocol being used in building automation network, whereas 61850 or DNP3 is likely to be in the power sector. So we want to make sure that we are prepared and are ready to use those tools. For example, one such tool is being developed by certain folks in India. It's called Grid Sentry, and they are leveraging their understanding of the Goose protocol and identifying how that can be used to hack into a power infrastructure system. In addition, make sure that the zero-day vulnerabilities are communicated effectively to all the affected parties, and patches are done periodically, and penetration testing and other precautionary preventive methods are deployed on a proactive basis.
Wow, that was insightful. That was really insightful. So, we have an audience which includes the power professionals from various PSUs in the Indian power sector. So, do you have any piece of advice that you would like to share with the power professionals in regard to cybersecurity?
So that's an excellent question. Thank you for that. And I must say that the wars of tomorrow will not be fought just on the borders, but the PSU professionals, the plant operators, would also be at the forefront of that fight. And they have a critical and very important role to play in protecting our infrastructure, because in We have seen how the landscape has evolved. Most of the time, the bad guys get into the OT network through phishing, social engineering, and other techniques in the IT network. So all the plant operators have to be trained and vigilant and make sure that they do not fall prey to some such attacks and are able to identify potential threats to their infrastructure. So these are the people who are going to be some of the soldiers of tomorrow, and they have to be prepared. Like for soldiers, we give them training in NDA and other places. Similarly, places like NPTI can play an important role in making sure that the soldiers on this front are also prepared and ready to take on the challenges.
So thank you so much, sir. It was indeed an enlightening discussion with you. To our viewers, if you find today's session insightful, remember to like, share and hit the notification bell, and feel free to leave any comments below in the comment section. So stay safe, stay secure. Namaste.